Disclaimer: this story is a work of fiction. All characters, events, and settings are imaginary and created purely for entertainment purposes. The tires of the dusty rental car crunched over gravel as Lena pulled up to the ranch. The countryside stretched endlessly in every direction, blanketed in dry golden grass and framed by a line of distant mountains. It was quiet, almost too quiet, but that's exactly what she needed. Lena stepped out, the wind catching strands of her long, dark hair. Her eyes were hollow, rimmed with exhaustion. She hadn't slept properly in weeks. The noise of the city, the weight of what happened, and the sympathetic looks from people who meant well, it all became unbearable. A woman named Rosa, the ranch manager, greeted her with a kind but cautious smile. "You must be Lena. Long drive." Lena only nodded, not offering more. Her words had become few lately. Rosa handed her a key. "Cabin's on the left near the stables. You'll hear the horses. They always know when someone new's arrived." Lena didn't react. She wasn't here for socializing. She came to forget. As night fell, she unpacked only the basics. Her room was simple, no mirrors, no photos, nothing personal. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring out the window toward the dim lights flickering near the stables. That's when she saw it. A large black horse, standing perfectly still beneath the moonlight. Its eyes glinted red for a moment. Just a trick of the light, she told herself. But something about it made her breath catch. She found herself walking toward it minutes later, barefoot, sweater pulled tight. No one else was around. The horse didn't move as she approached, just watched her. Wild and calm at the same time. A strange stillness passed between them. A small wooden plaque above the stable read, "Ashfall. Do not approach." She reached out anyway. The horse leaned its head gently toward her hand. For the first time in days, Lena exhaled, not from fear, but from something else, like recognition. Something ancient stirred deep inside her, something she didn't understand. But in that moment, she knew one thing for sure: this was no ordinary horse. By the third day, Lena found herself waking before dawn, quietly slipping out of her cabin and walking the short dirt path to Ashfall's stable. She didn't speak much to anyone on the ranch, but the stable hands had already started whispering. No one could understand it. Ashfall, the horse known for kicking walls, charging fences, and nearly breaking a trainer's leg, stood completely still when Lena was around. He didn't rear up. He didn't bite. He simply stared at her with those deep, unreadable eyes, as if waiting for her every morning. She brought him apples sometimes, or carrots she stole from the kitchen fridge. Once, she even just sat cross-legged in the straw across from his stall, her back to the wood panels, talking softly, not expecting him to understand, but somehow knowing he did. "I can't sleep," she murmured one morning. "Every time I close my eyes, I hear her voice. I see her face." Ashfall nudged the edge of the stall door gently with his nose. "I didn't mean for it to happen. But she's gone. And I'm here." Her voice broke, but she didn't cry. She hadn't cried since the funeral. What struck her most was how calm she felt near him. It wasn't logical. It wasn't even safe. Rosa had warned her the first time she saw Lena at the stall. "That horse doesn't trust people," she had said. "He's hurt 2 riders and 3 workers. We've thought about putting him down." Lena didn't answer then. She just kept showing up. Now, a week into her stay, something inside her had shifted. She no longer feared the silence. Her chest didn't ache constantly like it did before. She still didn't sleep well, but when she did, her dreams were different, soft images of a girl running through a field, of a horse beneath her, hooves thundering in the distance. Sometimes she woke up smiling. Sometimes she woke up crying. Once, in the dead of night, she heard Ashfall whinny loudly. She rushed to the stable barefoot, heart pounding. But when she arrived, the horse was standing still again, calm, as if he'd only called her there to say, "You're not alone." The connection was unexplainable, impossible even. But she felt it growing every day. More than comfort. More than trust. It was something deeper. A bond that no one else could see. The change started with the dreams. At first, they were fragmented, shadows moving across fields, wind rushing past her ears, a girl's voice whispering things Lena couldn't understand. Then came the more vivid ones. A red ribbon in someone's hair. A silver locket falling into the mud. A scream far off, muffled like it came through water. Lena would wake up drenched in sweat, gasping for breath. One morning, she sat on the porch with a mug of black coffee, staring out across the misty pasture, trying to shake off the images. Rosa walked by and paused. "You look like you saw a ghost," Rosa said. Lena gave a dry laugh, but said nothing. Later that day, while brushing ashfall through the stable rails, Lena noticed something strange. A scratch on her arm, not deep, but fresh. She didn't remember getting it. Her sleeves had been rolled down all day. And yet, there it was. 3 faint lines, like from a branch or a hand. She looked at Ashfall, but he was still and peaceful, resting his chin against the stall door. "You wouldn't hurt me," she whispered. "Would you?" Ashfall didn't move. His eye met hers, dark and endless. That evening, Lena overheard 2 ranch hands whispering outside the tack room. "She's getting too close to that horse," one said. Same thing happened to Evelyn. Lena froze. That name, Evelyn, something about it made her stomach twist. She stepped inside. "Who's Evelyn?" The men looked startled, guilty even. One of them muttered, "Don't worry about it. Just, don't stay out there too long. Bad things happen when people get too close to that horse." She pressed, but they wouldn't say more. That night, she dreamt again. But this time, it wasn't a dream. She was riding Ashfall, flying through a sunlit meadow. Her hands weren't her own, they were smaller, softer, with chipped red nail polish. She wore a white dress, the wind snapping it like a flag. And ahead of her, by the tree line, someone waited, a man she didn't recognize, but her heart reacted like it knew him. She reached out. Then she woke up, breathless, heart racing. Her pillow was damp with tears she didn't remember crying. It felt too real. Too familiar. She looked at the locket on her nightstand, the one she hadn't packed but somehow found in her coat pocket 2 days ago. It was old, silver, and scratched. Inside was a photo. A girl with her face. But it wasn't her. The storm rolled in fast, heavy clouds blanketing the sky by late afternoon, thunder rumbling like distant drums. Most of the ranch staff took shelter early, locking up tools, checking fences. But Lena didn't move. Not until she heard it. A loud crash from the stables. She bolted outside, rain already starting to fall. Wind whipped her hair across her face as she sprinted barefoot across the mud. The barn door creaked open against the wind, slamming hard behind her as she pushed through. "Ashfall," she called. The power flickered, then went out. In the faint glow of lightning flashes, she saw him, Ashfall, kicking wildly in his stall, eyes wide, breath steaming in the cold. The latch on his gate was broken. Something had clearly spooked him. Lena stepped forward. Hey, it's okay. I'm here." Another thunderclap cracked overhead. The horse reared. Something snapped. Pain exploded through Lena's hand as she fell backward, landing hard against a wooden beam. Her head hit something solid, then everything went black. She awoke to silence. Not peaceful silence. Empty silence. Rain still pattered on the roof, but faintly, far away. The air felt thick, like breathing through fog. And then she heard it, a soft, distant voice. "You promised you wouldn't leave." Lena blinked, slowly turning her head. A girl stood across from her in the stable. Soaked white dress. Mud-streaked legs. Long hair matted to her face. She looked just like Lena. But she wasn't Lena. "I waited," the girl whispered, stepping closer. "You said you'd come back." Lena couldn't move. Couldn't speak. The girl reached out a hand, and just as their fingers were about to touch, she woke up again. This time for real. The ranch staff found her just before sunrise, lying unconscious near Ashfall's stall, a deep cut on her palm and a bruise forming at her temple. Rosa called the doctor, but Lena refused the hospital. "I'm fine," she insisted. "Just slipped." But something was wrong. She could feel it in her bones. The cut on her hand, 3 clean lines, exactly like the scratch from days earlier. Only this time, it bled. She stayed in bed that night, but sleep refused to come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that girl's face. Not just in dreams. In memories. Ones that didn't belong to her. Ashfall was outside, pacing restlessly, like he was waiting for her return. But something had shifted now. Lena wasn't sure where the nightmares ended, or where her life began. The next morning, Lena couldn't ignore the pressure building in her chest, the feeling that she was unraveling, like a thread being pulled from the inside out. She needed answers. Not just about the dreams or the voice. About everything. She waited until Rosa left for town before slipping into the old ranch house. The place was part storage, part office, and entirely off-limits to guests. But Lena didn't care. Something inside her pushed her forward urgently. She found the back office unlocked. Dust layered everything. Old ledgers, faded maps, brittle notebooks stacked high. Then she saw the photo. Framed in tarnished silver, half buried under a pile of papers. A girl in a white summer dress, standing beside a black horse. Her arm was wrapped tightly around its neck, and both of them looked wild, radiant, alive. The back of the photo was labeled in faded blue ink, "Evelyn and Ashfall, July 1979. Lena dropped the photo, her hands trembling. It was like staring at herself. Same eyes. Same jawline. Even the same crooked smile. She dug deeper, through records, old letters, newspaper clippings. Bits and pieces came together like scattered puzzle pieces. Evelyn Rose Whitmore. Daughter of the original ranch owners. 17 years old when she vanished. No body ever found. Rumors of a storm, a fall, an argument with a lover. The town whispered for years that she ran away. But some said otherwise. She never would have left him. One article quoted a ranch hand. Him, meaning Ashfall. The horse had been Evelyn's from the day he was born. Bred from a rare bloodline, gifted to her for her 15th birthday. No one else ever rode him. No one else could. After Evelyn vanished, Ashfall turned wild. Refused to be touched. Injured several trainers. Twice escaped his own stall during full moons, disappearing into the fields only to return scratched and trembling. One worker called it grief. Another called it possession. Lena sat frozen, the old articles spread around her, heart pounding like a war drum. She looked down at her wrist. 3 small crescent scars faint, but they're like teeth marks. She hadn't noticed them before. Outside, Ashfall let out a long, low whinny. It wasn't panic. It wasn't pain. It was a call. Lena stood, staring out the window toward the fields. What if this wasn't just a connection? What if it was a return? What if Evelyn never left? Lena barely recognized herself anymore. She walked through the ranch like someone half awake, still Lena on the outside, but inside, something else was stirring. Something older. Something other. She began saying things she didn't understand. Ranch hands would ask a simple question, and she'd reply with phrases no one had used in decades. Once, she corrected a worker on the name of a forgotten trail that hadn't been marked on a map since the 1970s. When Rosa asked how she knew, Lena just blinked. "I've always known," she said, her voice distant. The strangest part? She wasn't frightened. It felt like slipping into a life that had always been waiting for her. The dreams returned, but now they carried more weight, more detail. The name Jonathan repeated again and again. A boy with dark hair, sun-brown skin, and sad eyes. Evelyn, Lena, loved him. And he betrayed her. One night, she stood in front of the mirror in her cabin, whispering the name like a prayer. "Jonathan, why did you do it?" Her reflection didn't move. It watched her. That same night, she found herself outside at midnight, barefoot in the grass, a white dress clinging to her in the wind. She didn't remember leaving her bed. Her hands were covered in dirt, like she'd been digging. She clutched the old silver locket she found days ago, Evelyn's locket. It felt warm, pulsing slightly in her hand. She opened it again. Inside, the picture of Evelyn had changed. It was now a photo of her and Ashfall, but she was wearing the same dress Lena now stood in. One that Lena had never owned. The next morning, Rosa sat Lena down. "You're scaring people," she said gently. "You're not, right lately. Something's wrong." Lena didn't argue. She stared at Rosa with a calm expression and asked a chilling question. "Do you believe in second chances?" Rosa hesitated, visibly unnerved. "What do you mean?" "I think she's still here. I think she's just wearing me." Rosa went pale. "Lena, don't say that. That's not funny." Lena smiled faintly. "It's not a joke." Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Lena stood outside Ashfall's stall. He didn't move, just stared at her with quiet intensity. "I remember now," she whispered. "What he did. Why I died." A tear slid down her cheek, but her voice remained steady. "I know who I was. But I don't know if I want to be her again, or if I already am." Ashfall lowered his head, brushing her shoulder gently. The choice was coming, and Lena could feel it in her bones. Lena stood in the barn aisle as the sun rose, casting long shadows across the ground. The morning air was cool, still, but inside her, everything churned. Her fingers trembled as she fastened the old leather saddle onto Ashfall's back. It creaked like it hadn't been used in years. Because it hadn't. No one had ridden Ashfall since Evelyn disappeared. Today, that would change. As she adjusted the stirrups, the stable door creaked open behind her. Rosa stepped in, her eyes wide with quiet fear. "You don't have to do this," she said. Lena didn't turn around. "Yes, I do." "Then let me call someone. A doctor, maybe. Or a priest." That made Lena pause. She smiled faintly, not with mockery, but something like sorrow. "You think this is about possession," she said. "But it's not. It's about memory." And with that, she mounted the horse. Ashfall didn't buck, didn't resist. He accepted her like a missing piece returning home. As they left the stable, the ranch fell into a hush. Lena rode toward the hill trail, the one from her dreams. The one Evelyn once rode. The path curled through golden fields, then dipped down into a grove of dead trees, untouched for years. The same grove where Evelyn was last seen. With every hoofbeat, Lena saw more clearly, not just with her eyes, but with her soul. She remembered running from the house in tears. She remembered Jonathan waiting for her by the trees. And she remembered the lie, the terrible secret he tried to bury with soft words and stolen kisses. "You promised," she whispered under her breath, the words Evelyn once said. At the center of the grove, Ashfall slowed. There, beneath the roots of a twisted oak, was the spot. The earth was disturbed, only slightly, but Lena knew. The memories were no longer echoes. They were hers. She dismounted slowly, one hand resting on Ashfall's neck. Then she saw him. A man stood at the edge of the trees, older now, hair gone gray, back slightly hunched. Jonathan. He hadn't died. He'd stayed, hiding in plain sight, running a ranch supply store in town, blending into history. Their eyes met across the distance. His face paled. "Evelyn," he breathed, barely a whisper. "No," Lena said quietly. "But I remember what you did." He stepped back. "It was an accident. She ran, you let her fall." Thunder cracked overhead though the sky was clear. Ashfall stomped once, hard. Lena looked down at the ground beneath her feet. It was time. But not for revenge. For justice. For peace. For the truth to rise. The air grew still in the grove, as if the world held its breath. Lena stood beneath the twisted oak, staring at Jonathan, the man who had caused Evelyn's death. Her heartbeat slowed. Her hands no longer trembled. The fear, the confusion, even the grief, had quieted. All that remained was truth. "You left her here," she said softly. "You didn't even try to save her." Jonathan's lips moved, searching for words that never came. "I was scared," he finally said. She knew I was engaged to someone else." She found the letter. "I told her I'd explain, but she was already gone. I thought she'd come back." "She did," Lena replied, her voice hollow. "Just not in the way you expected." Behind her, Ashfall snorted, his breath warm on her shoulder. He didn't move. He waited, just like he had all these years. Jonathan took a step forward, but Lena raised her hand. "No more lies," she said. "You've had decades to carry this guilt." But Evelyn? She had nothing. Not even a grave. She stepped toward the tree, knelt down, and placed the silver locket in the earth. "I didn't come back to haunt you," she whispered. "I came to finish her story." As she pressed the locket into the soil, a breeze swept through the trees, sudden and strong. Leaves swirled around them, the air charged with something unseen release. A warmth bloomed in Lena's chest, gentle and powerful, like a long-lost embrace. She closed her eyes. For a moment, she saw Evelyn again, standing beside her, smiling, eyes no longer hollow but full of light. She said nothing. She didn't need to. Then she was gone. The wind stopped. The grove fell silent again. Lena stood slowly. Ashfall approached and nudged her hand. She stroked his face and looked up at Jonathan. "I'm not her," she said firmly. "But I carried what she couldn't. And now it's over." Jonathan sank to the ground, head in his hands. Not weeping. Just broken. Lena turned away. As she mounted Ashfall and rode back through the golden fields, the world felt new. Lighter. The sun broke through the clouds, casting long beams over the hills. By the time she returned to the ranch hands had gathered, watching from a distance. Rosa stepped forward, uncertain. Lena smiled. "A real one this time." "She's gone," she said softly. "She's finally free." And so was Lena. She had come to the ranch to escape her own pain, but she left having carried, faced, and released someone else's. And in doing so, she had healed.